I was diagnosed with bone cancer at 12 years old, and that year changed everything. The strength it takes to face childhood cancer is beyond words. It's a journey no child should have to take, but so many do. I share my story not just to reflect on the past, but to raise awareness and help fund the research that every child battling cancer deserves. This is what survivorship can look like, but for too many kids, it's still out of reach.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 10 of the Sporting Cast podcast, a Christmas edition. Here on this week's guest is Emily Oberst. Emily has graciously decided to not only offer her time, but participate in the Christmas sweater episode. Emily, how are you today, my friend?
I am wonderful. How are you?
We're good. All the Christmas presents are already purchased, and there are no further gifts that I need to buy. So there's no stress. Life's good, and we're happy to have you on the show today.
Oh my gosh, you're ahead of me. I have a few last minute things I need to get, but that's a tomorrow problem.
Exactly. Today's the podcast, tomorrow's the presents. But thank you again for joining. So Emily, very unique story. Our relationship takes us back to 2019 when we were colleagues, interning at Wilson Sporting Goods in the sales department, I believe. And since then, we haven't really talked. We've kept up through social media, but following your story and knowing what happened before then, you're a cancer survivor. You got into wheelchair basketball. You left the corporate world to do something you're more passionate about. And take me back to 2011. You're in middle school and you get diagnosed with cancer. Just kind of walk me through that and how it's kind of changed your life from there.
Yeah, so I was your typical middle school teenager where my biggest worry in the world was convincing my parents I needed a cell phone and finding a date to the school dance and all the very important things at the age of like 11, 12 years old. So at that time, I was a big athlete. My favorite sport was actually basketball, and I was trying out for an AAU basketball team beginning of my 8th grade year. And those tryouts are pretty intense, so I felt this pain on my left shin after one of the tryouts, and I ignored it for a little bit, just kind of thought it was overused shin splints. And then I started just developing this fatigue, tiredness. I was taking naps all the time. And then my parents just said I was just acting strange and took me to urgent care where I got an x-ray. The x-ray turned into needing a biopsy, and that biopsy turned out that I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma bone cancer. So I had about a 3-inch tumor in my left tibia, which is your big bone in your shin. Right away, Ewing sarcoma is a pretty aggressive form of cancer, so I dived into chemotherapy within, I think, 3 weeks of the diagnosis. So it was pretty fast turnaround of events and, uprooted my life. So I went through about 9 months of chemotherapy, and then I had a surgery to remove the tumor in my leg. And that surgery is kind of what led me into later having this new physical disability, this new life I had to adapt to. But luckily enough, I was able to ring the bell after about a year of treatment, and I've been in remission ever since. So I'm so grateful for that part. Ewing sarcoma sucks, and it's a horrible, horrible disease, but I'm glad I was one of the ones to make it through. And then found Witch Boss Bucky Center, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Absolutely. No.
The story of that.
No, thank you. So when you were diagnosed and you're in middle school, how did you take that as a middle schooler? Was it something that you could fully comprehend? Is it something that you look back on and maybe, wow, I can't believe I did get through this?
Absolutely not. I had no idea really what cancer was. I thought only old people have cancer. I didn't think young people could have cancer. And I remember we had a appointment with a surgeon pretty early on. They knew they had to take a big chunk of my leg out. And the only thing I was really focused on is getting back to sports. That was my one concern, is oh my gosh, how am I going to play basketball again? How am I going to ski again? I live in Wisconsin. That's just part of the culture. And I was told I would never be able to do that again. And that was way more devastating to me at the time than the actual treatments and the actual life-threatening part. I give a lot of praise to my parents. They were great at shielding me from how scary it really was at that time. And now that I'm an adult and can comprehend, I can't imagine being a parent in that situation, and I can't believe it happened. But yeah, definitely didn't understand what was going on.
So when you look back at that, like you said, I remember talking with you a few years ago on this. You're fortunately able to walk on certain in everyday life, but your leg, I know you had a lot of physical fatigue just trying to, play basketball. So that's how you got into wheelchair basketball. Are you able to talk more about that and how that kind of came about?
Yeah. So I had partway through my treatment, I had the surgery. So the surgery, took my fibula of my right leg, which is my healthy leg. You don't actually need your fibula. It only supports 10% of weight. I did not know that. So they took it out of my right leg, put it as my tibia in my left leg, and over time it grew to be the same size or what I needed to be able to walk again. But it was about like 2 years of just like grueling PT. I was in a long-legged cast all the way up to my hip for like a year, then was in a brace. And this was all after ringing the bells. So I rang the bell and still had like 2 more years of just intense physical therapy. And then I was able to get to the point of walking with a slight limp. So I can't really walk super long distances. The ankle on my left leg is fused, so I can't run or jump really easily. And I joined the one sport that I could play that doesn't involve running or jumping, and that was golf. So I joined my high school golf team. The local newspaper wrote a story, feel-good story. Cancer survivor gets back to her passion, like all that. Even though golf was not really my passion, it was just the only thing I could do. But the local wheelchair basketball coach in Milwaukee read this story, thought I'd be great at wheelchair basketball. I could qualify with my disability. So he reached out and asked me to come to practice. And I originally said, absolutely not. That makes no sense. I can walk. At the time, being a teenager, you don't want to do anything that's not in the norm. So I didn't want to be different or known as the cancer girl. So I said, no, thank you. And he kept persuading me. He would not take no for an answer. So I was like, fine, I will go to practice and I will tell you in person, no, thank you, and leave me alone. So I went to practice, saw it. It was nothing like I imagined in my head. Like I just had that negative stigma towards like disability and wheelchair that I didn't understand that you could still be competitive and physical, and just honestly how fast-paced the sport was. I had no idea. And the minute I saw it, I was like, I have never been more wrong in my entire life. I need to play the sport. And I got in a chair, couldn't make a layup, but I was having fun and started playing that day.
So was it really just an instant, like, oh my God, I love playing this? Or was it something that's built over time and, you've grown appreciation as time's going on? Or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I think it was everything I needed in that moment to be able to kind of move on with like the grief of what happened to me, and like really being able to embrace what my new life can look like instead of just being sad about it. And so immediately I was like, okay, there's people who have similar stories to me. There's this place that I'm not like different in a sense. And that's what I really liked about it initially. And then also just I miss sports so much, I would have played anything at that point. And yeah, just seeing a healthy outlet to be able to get out that competitive side was awesome.
What was the feeling of ringing that bell like?
Amazing. It was, I kind of blacked out, to be honest. Like, I get this question a lot. I'm like, I think back and I'm like, okay, remember ringing it, but it was all still a blur to me. And also at the time, I still had so much PT to go through that I was like, okay, yes, this is great. Like, I don't have cancer, but there's still so much, like, the journey is truly never over, and it's still not over when things just change like that in your life.
So who was the high school coach that recruited you to play?
His name was, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, that's okay.
He's not retired.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him since I was in high school. Oh my God, his first name's Bob.
Okay, that's Coach Bob. Coach Bob. Thank you. That's all we need. No, so you go into high school, you have a great career. You start 1 year off at Alabama, then you go to be a 3-time All-American over at Illinois. What was the recruiting process like? What was your experience like at both schools?
Yeah, so I didn't even know adaptive sports existed, much less you could get a scholarship to go to college for it. So within the first year, I'd say like a few months in, I was a junior in high school, which is when you can start getting recruited. And I was recruited right away. And I don't think they like knew that I would be up to the level, but there weren't many girls playing the sport at the time. So I had my first conversation with Alabama and just like, I mean, seeing that powerhouse of the sporting school just on TV, I was immediately enamored by it. And started talking to coaches. It was awesome. Went to visit Alabama and Illinois. I ended up getting enamored by Alabama when I went to my first football game there. That was awesome. And decided to sign there. But then there was actually a coaching change my freshman year and a bunch of new personnel that time that I just knew I wanted to kind of come back to the Midwest a little closer to home. And also the coach at U of I was Stuck Wheeler, who, I mean, she's got a million accolades, but she was the 2016 gold medalist coach for Team USA. So she is just somebody I knew I wanted to be coach under. So then I transferred to U of I and loved U of I. That it's one of my favorite places in the world. So it was awesome.
Well, shout out U of I. It brought you obviously a great internship into Wilson Sporting Goods. Fortunate for our paths across. And since 2019, your career has really elevated into, basketball, wheelchair basketball, excuse me. 2022, you're a bronze medal in the World Championships. In 2023, you're gold medal in the Pan American Games. And in 2024, you're a silver medalist in the Summer Paralympics. What has that experience been like? Feel free to talk about one specific one or your favorite one. What's that experience been like being able to play across the globe, something that you love?
Yeah, so I actually quit wheelchair basketball when I graduated college. I thought you kind of had to choose either this 40-hour corporate life or playing a sport. So I didn't think you could really do both. So I started at Abbott Labs out of college as a logistics planner, and I watched the Tokyo Games because of COVID. They were delayed a whole year, so it was like 2021. I watched my teammates win a bronze medal at that, and I was like, that's just the one thing missing in my life that I haven't accomplished is becoming a Paralympian. And just seeing them all do that together, I was just watching on TV and I was like, I can't get this up. So I Tokyo, so that's that 2022 team that went to Dubai. Had to get my ass into shape again and got it together and was lucky enough to be on like the quad leading up to Paris. And being an adult on a team that's traveling the world to these places I would never go to, competing, it's undescribable, honestly. And the opportunity to make that happen just came with wheelchair basketball, and I don't know. I'm so grateful.
So when you decided to quit for a year, focus on your 40-hour work week, you watched the 2021, 2020 games, however you want to say it, you get back into it, working your ass off. What was that training like? Were you really out of shape, or did you man? So what was that like getting back into it? Because you really had to switch the mindset around again.
Yeah, because I mean, I would work out, but I would not work out your upper body. And just shooting in a wheelchair, it's all upper body and it's so much conditioning. And a lot of my teammates are full-time wheelchair users, so they just get that natural, they're pushing around all day, they're just strengthening those muscles. I don't have that, so I really have to work for that. And just getting back into it, it's like a big regimen. It's about 3-4 lifts a week, conditioning every day. And it also was difficult to just find time to do that while working a full-time job. I think that was the hardest thing. And then I know we chatted about this, but finding gym space I lived in the city of Chicago, was so difficult because there's not many basketball courts. And if there are basketball courts, there's usually about 10 guys on them. And then I'll wheel my little wheelchair on there, and then everybody scatters like I'm a ghost. But then there's not enough space. And that was honestly the hardest part, is just building a new routine.
You didn't just say, I got next, and they weren't willing to just play with you. How rude of them. But
Everybody wanted that coop, and they weren't going to say no to a girl in a wheelchair at the same time. But then it's like uncomfortable, and I'm just like, oh my God, this sucks.
So you move back to Wisconsin. You get into a different job, a different career. Tell me more about that.
Yes, so moved back to Wisconsin. There's just so much more gym space, which has been awesome. And I honestly needed a job that I was passionate about. And Wisconsin Adaptive Sports Association is kind of the governing body of adaptive sports in the Milwaukee area. So community outreach director role opened up. I got it. And it's great loving my job and able to really push for representation for disability and adaptive sports in our area, plan fun events around that, and just really be an advocate, which has been awesome. And with that comes a lot of flexibility because they are in the sports space. So I can go and scrimmage in the afternoons if I need to, and it's not a problem. So that's been great.
So what has been like the best experience since you got back into it? Has there been one that's pointed out, whether it's, helping somebody else or playing specifically in a game, or are there a few that come to mind?
Yeah, definitely Paris. The Paralympics in Paris was something undescribable. It was so cool because we don't get a lot of eyes on our sport in general. It's not, a lot of our games are live streamed. Not many people come to them just because it's not a mainstream sport. And we played in the Bercy Arena in downtown Paris for a sold out crowd for every single game. Most of the audience was very much against the US, which is fine. But it was so cool to just see that many people just cheering and being fans, because we don't get that very often. And just looking around, it was great.
So when you play, when I play basketball, all I do is just airball a lot of 3-pointers. Like, what is your style of basketball when you're like wheelchair basketball when you're playing? What's something like, everyone has their role. Where's your niche when you're playing the sport?
Yeah, so I'm actually more of a post player, which is kind of crazy because I'm only 5'3", but in a wheelchair, my torso is really long, and I have the function to have the tallest wheelchair. So lots of times I can just post up on people because I can't reach it, which is great. And I'm pretty aggressive and competitive, so defense has always been a strength, and I don't really back down to these girls from other countries that may be a little taller or have years of experience on us. But yeah, I have a few things in my pocket that I like to bring out on the court.
So when you're playing against like this competition, how much trash talking was like in the Paralympics? Like, are they like talking trash to you guys, or is it more just like constant communication on the court? How's that process going like?
There's definitely trash talking. Especially, Team USA is obviously the best at everything, and everybody wants to be us, so haters will hate. But we give it back, and there's a lot of off-court stuff, too. I mean, there's rivalries. The Paralympics are the same as any, sports, NFL, NBA. Mm-hmm. There's these rivals that have been a thing for years and so much history that I don't let it get to me, but I definitely might add some fuel to the fire sometimes just to make it interesting.
As you should. So when you talk rivalry, what's Team USA's biggest rivalry in the sport?
I think historically Canada, just because we play each other all the time and we are in the same zone, so we just compete. It's usually us fighting for a gold medal in the Paralympian Games. And then at the Paralympics, the Netherlands are more recent rivalries because they've won everything for the past 8 years. They won the Tokyo Paralympics. They won everything leading up to Tokyo and then everything leading up to Paris. So they have these two girls that are really big and they're pretty good, and I'm over it. But that's, I think, our biggest rivalry now going into LA 2028.
So being a keynote speaker, What's kind of the experiences that you go around sharing other stories about? I mean, obviously yourself, but like, do you travel like around the Midwest, or is it something that you do around the whole country?
Yeah, mostly around the Midwest. I hope someday it's a national speech that I can give. A lot of it is about adversity and just bouncing back when life hits you in the face. And then a lot of my story and is just advocating for cancer awareness and funding research. There's just so much more that needs to be done there, and it's very sad. And I'm sick of seeing these kids being taken from this earth because of it. And there's just so many advancements in research, so constantly fighting for that within those speeches. So yeah, I love to chat, as you can probably tell. So I love making a career out of it and being able to share my story on a platform.
No, I appreciate that. Once again, we had Emily Oberst. Emily, from 2028, what are your goals with that? I mean, obviously, winning the gold medal is the ultimate team goal. Do you have any personal goals, either for that 2028, before then, after then, or just in the sport in general?
Yeah, I think just moving the Paralympic needle and getting our sport recognized more, just within the US. I mean, I'm very biased, but I think it is the best Paralympic sport to watch. And there's so much that people don't know and haven't seen how competitive and physical it is. So a lot of LA gives us the opportunity to make that more known, it being in our home country. And Paris, honestly, they did a great job. All of our games were streamed on Peacock. A lot of people were able to tune in. I think we had record-breaking numbers for viewership. So just building upon that, and then yeah, I mean, I've trying to make social media more of a priority in my life because it all honestly starts there. It's a good thing and a bad thing.
No, oh, absolutely. Yeah, the love and hate of social media that I'm dealing with right now.
Yep, everybody can relate to it. It's like you have to do it, but at the same time, I'm probably embarrassing myself on the internet. But it's yeah, I need to start focusing more on that too, going into LA.
So when you think about your supporting cast, who's made a big impact, whether is when you were diagnosed with cancer, whether you were in college or playing now for the Team USA, who's really impacted your life and impacted your career?
hmm Yeah, my parents have always been my biggest supporters, and specifically my mom. She has made me have an open mind. A lot of these things. She's the one who taught me to be a respectful teenager and to go to that practice and say no to that coach originally. She's like, you can't just like hide behind a screen and tell this poor man no. And I mean, that just changed my trajectory of my life. And they've been at every tournament. They've, coached me in so many different ways. And I'm very grateful for them. And then from a mentorship perspective with basketball, my coach at U of I, Steph Wheeler, has really been such a pivotal person in my life and growing my game. So very grateful for them.
So when you went through cancer, obviously it was a very traumatic event to go through, especially such a young age. And you've talked about it now, there's still a lot of people, whether it's kids, adults, that go through it. Some are fortunate enough to beat it. Others, unfortunately lose their life. What is one thing that you really learned just, being so into the topic of cancer? And then what are you trying to do from that standpoint, from a goal standpoint of awareness?
Yeah, I think just in general, it really puts life into perspective. And I know that's so cheesy to say, but going through just something like that, just little things are not important. Are the things that I bicker about with my family, my friends, are just at the end of the day not important one bit. So I try and remind myself that and preach that to others as much as possible is, don't take life for granted. And the important things in your life are the people in it, not the dumb materialistic things or the little argument you had with your brother. It's just not important. As I just got in an argument with my brother today. But now she reminded me that it's not important.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. And for someone who may be sick or know someone that's going through sick, what's your advice just to beat it or motivation? What is there something that you looked on that, gave you that motivation and mindset, said, I know I can beat this and I want to beat this for this reason or that reason?
I think reaching out to people and finding others that had been through something similar. I know when I was going through it, my mom joined this network of cancer moms that, were giving great advice on medical stuff that like needed to be changed or different, but also just like how to deal with it on a personal level. And I think that's one of the blessings of social media is if you do some research, you can find people who have been through something similar, and see them come out on top. And that's kind of what I try and be on the social media side of things. And, I've had lots of girls who have been diagnosed with human sarcoma who have reached out to me, and that's just makes it all worth it, just to give them some hope.
So for the listeners out there, if you do know anyone, feel free to reach out to Emily. She'll be tagged on the Instagram post later on this week. Emily, what's your advice for wheelchair basketball players, for those either A, considering joining the sport, or B, trying to improve their game?
Yeah, I'd say you have to embrace it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're already in the sport and enjoying it, I mean, the future is very bright and the options are endless. You could go on to be a Paralympian and have the most insane experiences in the world. Or if you don't want to get to that level, just being a part of a community that embraces everyone's differences and is not afraid to talk about anything is honestly a win in itself. So I really encourage everybody, and if you're not in the community, go check us out, watch our games, be a fan of the LA Paralympics. It'll be a good one, and hopefully we'll be winning a gold on home soil.
And for all those people that say they don't have an excuse to watch it, she already mentioned that it was on Peacock. So I know a lot of people have Peacock, so they can't run with the excuses this time.
And probably YouTube too. I'm sure it's honestly everywhere. So just a quick Google search.
Perfect. Well, Emily, thank you very much for sharing your story, your advice. We're very happy that you were able to beat it, provide motivation to others to either continue to beat it or beat it as well. And thank you again for what you've done for the sport, what you've done for the topic of cancer. And we wish you not only a Merry Christmas, but a wonderful 2028 Paralympics and everything that happens before then.
Yes, thank you, Lucas. This was awesome.
We'll hopefully get you back. Ideally, I would say maybe one time before 2028. But, if it takes 3 to 4 years, we'll see you then. But I mean, hell, we went 6 years without seeing each other. So, 4 years is half the time.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be back. Hopefully also with a gold medal after LA, if not before.
Good. Well, Emily, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Have a great Christmas, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.